It's just so weird, like, coming into it. Right, so Tales of Zesteria, the Cross, or the X is the way you want to pronounce it, any way you want, is a retelling or a sort of like an animated version of the Tales of Zesteria anime. You know, one of the first, like, kind of big, like, Tales of games that come out over here, next to Zillia, next to, like, a bunch of the other ones, like Vesperia and all that. And this is the kind of one that kind of a lot of people was their first one to get into, and this was episode 0, I like to point out, of the episode. This is the first episode. They told us about the prologue, about the series, and, well, it was fucking weird because the entire episode focuses on one of the characters in the series known as Alicia, and there's kind of good reasons why she was in this episode as the one, since there was a lot of backlash in, like, the actual game that she was in herself, because she's not in the game for a good majority of this whole thing, and, like, there was kind of a bit of the backlash, just like, because, like, oh, people, oh, my waifu isn't in, like, the game for so long. Personally, I was more upset that, you know, she was my favourite character to play as. I actually liked her Lance style, but yeah, overall and all that, it's like, yeah, I can see that I wanted to give this episode to her, and kind of retells and says in their own way, like, what happens with some of the characters in there. You clearly see that they're trying to investigate this mist that's, like, going around and all that. They think there's some danger coming on the world. And even that there's, like, one point when, like, Alicia and her guards get attacked by, like, a bunch of, like, thieves like that, assassins, and they're like, what the hell's going on here? And I kind of like they gave, like, one character especially, I don't want to mention, but they kind of showed a little what he used to look like as, like, a human. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They showed what he originally looked like. And I was like, oh, God's sake, just like, you knew that Ufotable was going to put their all into it, and even with episode 0, my God, the art and animation was fucking superb like that. When you saw her fighting and everyone else, it was just utterly fantastic. And even when you, like, even just saw, like, their art style going around, and just, like, when they were, like, running away, and even, like, with the CGI, like, giant effect going on, and, like, with dragons and shit like that, and just, it was nuts. And then when you started seeing those two fucking guys just fighting it off like that, like, because it's hard for me, I don't want to go too much into the story of this. Is obviously, for some people, this is going to be their first time going into it, but yeah, it was so weird, like, two notable characters in the series like that fighting off and going at it, and then just, like, the girl just goes, oh, I'm bored now. I will say though, like, for an action episode like that, it kind of gives you, like, you know, what you want to see as, like, you know, crazy action, beautiful animation, but it really doesn't tell you a lot of the story. All you just know is that the world is in danger, that, like, you know, there's something changing, and that, you know, back in the day, humans used to live side by side with invisible beings, and they stopped worshipping them, they stopped knowing their existence, and now it's kind of the comeuppance. It's kind of like a sort of revenge for that sake and all that. And now, like, at least just now seeing this now, like, this is exactly with these powerful just magics that they've got, is that it's beyond fucking, like, ridiculous what they're doing. And yeah, it was messed up for her, especially because she lost all her guards slash friends along the way, and just seeing all this, like, catastrophe, and seeing a poor little girl, like, who was, like, the only survivor in her village after it got super fucking wrecked. The tornado, like, sucks up this child, and she just sees as this poor child is murdered in front of her face, and I'm like, oh, we went very dark now, didn't we? And then it just ends, and I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, so the most information that you got in this episode was that Alicia's a princess, like, she's there, like, there's obviously some fucked up stuff going on with the kingdom and all that, like, you know, a lot of it, like, there's a bunch of assholes around there and all that, but, and she seems like a really good, you know, hearted woman, and, you know, she's very strong with the lance as well, and that, you know, there's this big, like, it's like festival coming up with a sword as well, and, like, this whole legend about a shepherd. And I, like, the one thing I liked about in this episode when they found the ruins and they were talking about the shepherd, it's just like, she didn't say, like, oh, do you believe in the shepherd or not? She didn't say yes or no. She said, you know, I'd like to believe there is one. Like, you know, she knows that there's the possibility of them not being around like that, since it sounds like the shepherds haven't been around for a very long time. But at least I appreciate kind of that's a kind of normal human response to it like that. Like, especially, so I kind of really appreciated that. And plus, like, you know, like, I think you kind of understood her character a little bit in the start of this episode. My biggest problem with this one is, since it's the prologue, it didn't give enough of the, like, enough about the world, enough about that. I will say though, for fans of like the games, you seeing like, you know, like environments like the cathedral and the city and all that, like just complete reenactment of that, and it looks beautiful. Like they completely recreated it from the ground up, and it looks stunning in anime format. Like it looks absolutely beautiful, that city. I love that, and just a great melding in with CGI, with all of it. We didn't get to hear an ending this time though. We like right at the end of the episode they did show us the actual opening, which I was like, oh my god, I fucking love this song, because it's flow. Like I always love flow songs, like they're always fantastic. I hadn't heard one in a good while from them. I don't think they had done like an anime opening in a while, but this one is fantastic. It's absolutely so awesome like that. I love the action scenes in it. It's so good. I cannot wait through it. However, though, I do have to say, as a reviewer and as someone as a Zesteria, I haven't completed Zesteria, but I was like the 75% mark and all that. And I like the thing that I have like I want in this show is that I want them to flesh out the characters a bit more than the game is, and that, you know, like the character, that was the thing I like had a bit of a problem with in the game, is because I played Zilia and I played Abyss and I've played like, you know, like a bit of Zesteria as well, and like I prefer all of those characters really. Like I prefer all the main cast than I do like of the Zesteria cast. So I'm really hoping that they're like a lot better in the anime form. I'm not saying that they're bad characters, it's just that I prefer other Zesteria main casts than I do like kind of this. So, and especially I hope they get a lot more time to like Alicia. I hope they get a little bit more time. But yeah, you didn't actually meet the main character in this episode, so it's like, yeah, that dude that you see at the start of the opening, like that's the main character. So there, I'm gonna like honestly leave this to there, but I generally think it gave you like the action wise, I think it's like action wise it's 9 on 10. Story, we really didn't get a lot. And like, I think like overall and all that, it's like you didn't really have this emotional attachment to like all the people that were dying. It's like, you know, it wasn't like insane, and you was kind of getting a little introductions to characters. It feels more for the fans this episode than it does than actual new people, but then I think definitely the action, and a lot of people will kind of be intrigued by the world and the characters by now, and just gorgeous animation, just beyond stunning animation and all that, and they just perfectly recreate the art style from the game. Like it's utterly fantastic, and you know, I've got to give like, you know, props to Ufotable there, but like story was my biggest issue in this one. Like there wasn't a lot of it, like, and the little bit that we know is that, yeah, the world's in trouble, and it's like, how many times have you heard that before? Like the world's in trouble with this weird mist and these like this fucking girl coming around and just like wrecking shit up, and like it seems like the shepherd's the prophet that's the one to sort it out. So we're gonna leave it there. Honestly, I'd like to say that the art, like my favorite things from the actual Zesteria game, and like everything that's my favorite part of it. Music was from the game. I fucking love the music. That's the best thing about like with a series like that. Art as well. Art is fantastic in this show. Animation, fluent, fight scenes, fucking gorgeous like that. Story is the only weak caliber on there, and I do like to say like Zesteria, that's the biggest problem with the series itself, and it's story like that. So I think adding into that, that's 4 out of the 5 things and all that like you're kind of looking for in like in the series and all that, like in the characters you can add the 6-1, but we really didn't get a lot more about Alicia. We kind of get a little bare bones about her, and then we get a little bit of like kind of the story, and the story so far it's like not the biggest setup in the world and all that, but I think it's definitely going to interest people. So I think overall my final score for the first episode of Zesteria is a 7.5. I think it's a very goddamn good episode, but boy, I really wanted a little bit more meat on the bones for like the story wise and the character wise like that. Because everyone else that was focusing on, like, apart from Alicia like that, didn't get that. And the other girl as well, like, you know who she is and all that, if you played the games and all that, really didn't get a lot on her either, like that. There was some cool little tidbits and all that, but the only thing that really held up this episode is how fantastic the art, fights were, music, opening, everything else and all that, and it's just like, yeah, we didn't get too much on the characters wise. I mean, it's the first episode, so we are going to see him a little bit more explored later on in the series, but then again, it's like, this is someone from who's played like a good chunk of Zesteria, and I know the characters pretty much, so yeah, I was hoping a little bit more from Alicia and probably some of the others, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think about this Tales of Zesteria? I definitely want to keep up with this and all that. This is definitely one I want to do. This has kind of made me a little bit more inspired to actually go back to the game and finally beat it, so that's something I'm definitely going to have to do, so I'm looking forward to that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But that's all from me, so I'll see you guys though next time.